I'm Linda Kaiser, and welcome to The Circle. Our regular panelists are Mary Beth Lord, and she is joined by Sharon Brash, and then our other panelist is Catherine Harris. And we have this absolutely fascinating discussion because Mary Beth and Sharon have been at Standing Rock. And as you may or may not know, there's a really big deal protest going on over what is called the Dakota Access Pipeline. So, which is a joint venture between energy companies, and they are Marathon Petroleum Corporation and a company called Enbridge Energy Partners and Energy Transfer Partners, are trying to put a pipeline in an argument or in an area where people say it's not wanted because it might spoil the water, and we have to have water. So there is a Native American tribe called the Standing Rock Sioux. And this group believes that the pipeline, which will run 90 feet below the bed of the Missouri River, could potentially trample on tribal artifacts and rupture and ruin the water in the river. So Mary Beth and Sharon got in their car and drove from Pennsylvania to this pipeline project, and they're going to tell us about it. So, ladies.
Okay, well, yeah, we left on Wednesday morning from Pennsylvania, and we arrived here on Friday afternoon at the Standing Rock Reservation. And we chose not to stay at the main encampment. We went across the Cannonball River, and we are staying with the Rosebud tribe, which is a very peaceful, prayerful group. And it's just, they're most welcoming, loving people I think that we've ever encountered. Now, where we're staying on the Cannonball River, it's not very wide, right where we are. So we can see all the activities across the river. We can hear all of the announcements. We know when something is happening there that we want to participate in. And so basically, we got there, got acclimated. We're not really outdoorsy kind of people so much. So it was a real effort for us to get our tent set up and, just figure out what we were doing. But luckily we were greeted by amazingly warm people. We just started right away working in the kitchen, cooking and, doing anything that we could to, help out. And the first day was pretty quiet. And, we kind of went over to the main camp, found out what was going on. We found out that there was a media tent there, so we could go to meetings there to get updates on what's happening and what the press is trying to do. They have a legal aid tent there, and there's lawyers there that are helping people who may get in trouble or are helping people with the treaties and all of those sorts of things. So it took a couple of days just to figure out where we fit in and what the protocol is if the call goes out that the digging is beginning. So today is Thursday. We're losing track of time here. So Tuesday, fairly early in the morning, I think we may have just been preparing breakfast. And we got the call that the diggers had started. And it is an amazing thing. They have warriors on horseback all around the ridge, and they watch. And when they see activity, they radio back or they ride back. And then we form a caravan, and as many people as possible get in cars, trucks. Sometimes there's 10 and 12 people in a truck. We all line up at the main encampment. We stay very close together, and we head off. And we go, maybe a mile or two up the road, and there are people that are actually camping on the road and sit right on the sides of the road. And we pull off there, and it's so beautiful. They do a prayer service for everybody who's going to be involved, and they pray for peace, and they pray for self-control, and they pray for enlightenment so that these people can actually see that, these Native Americans are peaceful, loving caretakers of Mother Earth. And that is the message that they want to get out. And there are no weapons whatsoever. This is very peaceful. So then we all get back into our cars and we drive, and it's a pretty long distance. I'm going to say it's 20 miles, and it's on all dirt roads. Yeah. And
so
it took
I have a question.
Okay.
So I want to know, when you guys got there, what did you do? Did you walk up and say, "Hey, we're from Pennsylvania and we're here"?
Pretty much. We pulled in. Well, let me just backtrack a second and tell you. When we arrived there, it had rained. And so everything was just deep mud. And I just have a front wheel drive car, nothing special. And so we pulled into Standing Rock first, not really knowing what the protocol was. And we told them that we wanted to be with Rosebud. There are some of the Rosebud tribes staying at Standing Rock, but the majority of them have their own encampment. So they said, okay, go down this big hill. Now this big hill is steep and full of ruts. So my poor little SUV is going down there, sliding and slipping, and there are tents everywhere. And it was just, we're like, oh my gosh, maybe then we should turn around and go back to Pennsylvania. We were before we hurt someone. So anyway, we got back to our site, and just, oh my God, I'm telling you, solid mud. And we did it though. We just kind of pulled in, and we just sort of said, we're here, and where can we set up? And they were very nice. They said, you can set up here, you can set up right along the river, you can set up behind the trees. And we should have set up behind the trees, but us not being outdoorsy people, we didn't know, because horrendous winds hit 2 days ago during the night, and we were up all night restaking the tent and holding poles down.
The winds didn't let up it was about like 18 hours of these really strong winds.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Scary.
And when they first hit, the first thing I said is, oh my God, it feels like the ancestors are angry. It was that strong. Our tent was lifting off the ground. The next morning when we got up, there was people's tents that had blown all the way down into the river. Tents were down everywhere. It was just a real mess. But we said, nope, we're here for this. So that's what it was. We were greeted with that. We set up. That night, they kind of waved us up, and they have the most beautiful ceremony before every meal. And we stand in a circle, and they burn sage, and they have water, and they make offerings, and they say beautiful prayers. And then they pass around water, and everybody takes a sip of the water. You're in a circle. And then one person turns to their left and shakes the person's hand next to them or gives them a hug. And then then that person follows the next person, and that the whole inner circle goes around, hugs everybody, shares love, and then we go in and eat. And that's before every meal. So that's how we were welcomed. That was the first thing that we did, was a prayer circle, and it just felt so right. We were being hugged and loved and welcomed, and I can't even tell you, I don't think I've ever had anything like that in my life.
And how did you know about the Rosebud Camp?
Actually, it was Pushkara. Pushkara knows a woman named Victory. And Victory has been there for a while. And she's an EMT. So she was helping with their wellness and their medical. And the day that we met her, which was Saturday morning, was the day that she was leaving.
Oh, no.
So we did talk to her, and we exchanged information. So we will get in contact with her and see what we can do to help out the medical tent there. We had a short interview with her, which I believe Shelley put up online for people to watch. And so, yeah, that was pretty much our welcoming. And after that, we were just one of the family. We were just told, go get potatoes and start peeling. And, it was whatever was needed, we did. And we have plenty of time for ourselves if we want. And they have grandmother Teresa, who is there, and she is just a beautiful soul. She stays in prayer most of the day.
And we asked what the protocol was as far as like when they have their ceremonies and stuff, do we need to respect them and let them do it? And then they said, no, you're always welcome in whatever we do, whether it be into the sweat lodge or the prayer circles or anything. We're welcome, just as long as we don't take pictures during any kind of ceremony.
Right.
And they just.
Now, what drew you to this? Do either of you have Native American blood, or? that
Nope.
background, or what drew you there?
What drew me there was being a grandmother and knowing that I've lived most of my life, and there, has to be a chance for these children and grandchildren and all future generations to live a life that I led, where we could go out and know that the water that we were drinking would not kill us, and that we knew that there was water there that could be had. And, I just have always been very connected to the earth. And I just know that if we don't step up right now and do this, we can't look back a year from now and say, oh, I should have, or why didn't I? Or I could have taken time to do this, or I could have written letters, or I could have made phone calls, or I could have, there's not going to be another chance to do this. Once this pipeline is through, the chances are that it will erupt at some point. When you look at the pipelines around our country, which you normally need to go to the alternative media to get the information, there are spills everywhere.
All the time.
And, when you hear of a spill, the news makes it sound like it's this little local event.
That's
But
right.
it isn't true. When there's a spill, that spill just travels through the waters. And the Native Americans, they've lost their Tatanka, their buffalo, and now they are so worried about their salmon. And
I'll tell you one thing. I want to read this one thing that I found before you go on. In this article that I found today about the labor unions, it said many of the same environmental groups that oppose the Keystone XL pipeline have joined the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline, which would bring 470,000 barrels of Bakken crude oil per day from western North Dakota to southern Illinois.
exactly. And
That's big money.
It's greed and money. No respect for the environment, no respect for humanity, no respect for anything. It's just greed and money. And the thing that I really can't understand is these people that are doing this, they must have children and grandchildren. How can they do this knowing the possibility that lies ahead? I don't understand it. And so as a grandmother, I just said, no, I'm not going to stand for this. And I am, asking every person out there that has a child or a grandchild to look at this, educate yourself on this. Understand that once this goes under the Missouri River, this is millions and millions of people that would have their water supply polluted, never to be used again. The fish would die. It's just so huge. And it can be stopped, and it is being stopped. We were at a media event yesterday where they had a panel of Native American women speaking, and it was so powerful. And the one attorney there basically said, we are winning this. We need more people to make phone calls, but we are winning this because come November, the ground will be frozen. Their work will be halted, and their permits will be up. And if we can hold it off till then, we've got a good chance of stopping this completely. And that's why things are heating up so much now. That's why today, when we tried to get here, we were stopped by cement barricades and met with, I guess they were National Guard, armed with rifles.
When you say get there, you're explaining that you left the camp to
Oh,
go.
I'm sorry. Yeah. We were trying to get to Bismarck today. We have a friend coming in to help with this, and she's coming from California, Jackie. And so we need to pick her up at the airport tonight. So we left the encampment today around 11, I think, and we were heading north. And we got about 25 miles north of the encampment. And all of a sudden, we see cement roadblocks blocking the road with, I guess, Army or National Guard, whatever, in fatigue, helmet, with all of their weaponry out, and, a barricade, cement barricade on one side of the road going north, and a little bit further up going south. Lots of police, lots of sheriffs. And, it just looked like you see on the news the checkpoints in these war zones. And it just took my breath away. I couldn't believe, we totally did not expect it.
Right.
And when we saw it, we were like, oh my God, my first thought was, this is North Dakota in the United States of America. And we were having checkpoints like it's a war zone. So who's at war? It's the American people with these corporations who have no regard for our lives. That's the war. And I don't think people are understanding what's really happening. And so, the one guy, we rolled down the window and I said, what's going on here? And the one military man started to speak, and the other one turned around and said, oh, shut up, don't be talking. And the other and he said, I know, it was like just ridiculous. And then the other one said, well, I want to talk. And the other one said, no, don't talk to these ladies. And they were like going back and forth. I'm thinking to myself, this is bizarre. So, we were laughing afterwards, not at the time. We were just like, what is going on? And so I said, what's happening here? And he says, well, where are you coming from? And we were very vague. And I don't think that they were intelligent enough to really question us the way that they should have. And so we just said, well, we're from up the road. And they said, well, where? And we said, just back there a ways. And they said, oh, okay. And they said, well, where are you going? And we said, we're heading to Bismarck. And they said, okay, all right, have a good day. And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, we're going to have to come back. What do we do? And he kind of got this worried look on his face. And he said, oh, well, when you come back, you'll be stopped. You'll be asked a lot of questions, and then you'll be given directions as to what you need to do. So I'm a little bit anxious to see what happens tomorrow when the three of us head back to the road to the check place. I don't know if we're going to make it back to our camp or not.
Go on Google Earth and look up somebody's address up the road or something.
Yeah. I said to Sharon, she said, should we say this or that? And I said, no, you know what? I've always been honest, and I'm going to continue to be honest, and I'm not going to make up stories, and I'm not going to play games. I'm going to go back and I'm going to be honest. And if they don't like that, well, there's not much I can do about it. I mean, I'm not doing anything to break any laws. I'm not doing anything to harm anybody in any way. We're going back to camp, and we're going to fight for Mother Earth. And if that's unacceptable to somebody, then it's unacceptable. But I'm not going to change. Well, Catherine, you're muted if you're...
I can't wait to hear from you tomorrow as to what transpires. Catherine, do you want to make some comments?
Well, I was just going to say I was going to suggest that you could say, we're going to visit relatives.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that would be completely true.
Yes, it would.
Actually, that's what they refer to everyone in camp as relative.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter who you are, that we're all part of one big family.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. Their expression, metakusin, all my relations, just absolutely deconstructs the us-them dichotomy in one fell phrase. That's all. We're all related.
Yeah, the message that's usually spoken over at the main camp when the elders or the chiefs are talking, it's always about, we are the human race. We are it. We're here together under one creator. We're the human race, and that we need to figure this out together. We need to come together now and understand that we are all, working for Mother Earth. We're working for our survival of the human race. And it isn't one race that'll do it. It'll be everybody coming together to do this. And, I was laying on my cot the other night, falling asleep, thinking, so many people have no clue what's going on up here. And what they're thinking about is, I wonder what movie we're going to go see this weekend. Or I wonder what happened on Wall Street today. Or, which star is divorcing the other star. Or, and a few feet from my tent are these people that have basically nothing and are willing to give everything they have to anybody who shows up. They are the most giving people, and they ask for nothing. And that is what I will take home with me. And that's what I will remember the rest of my life, that nothing that we have, no possession, is as important as making sure that Mother Earth survives.
Well, it's interesting because it's not only an issue of corporate greed, because this is a multi-billion-dollar oil pipeline. This is not cheap stuff. This is big time, big bucks, big bucks. So, but what's interesting to me and what caught my attention today was this article about the AFL-CIO, because apparently part of the union people are very conservation minded. So it's the workers as well. It's those people who are being hired by the oil companies. You know, they pay good money.
Yeah.
And so it sets up controversy within that local area as well. So there's multiple controversies going on.
Yeah, this is what the women on the panel were talking about yesterday. This has been a split within their own community, because you're looking at people who are impoverished. I mean, and they want to stay true to their family and true to their heritage. But when you're faced with, you know, no food and no good education for your children, and really a very bleak outlook for your future and the future of your children, and then an oil company comes along and offers you $25 an hour, that's big money.
Yeah, it is.
And when you're looking at the survival of your family, these people are so torn. You know, I don't blame them. I don't. It's the corporate greed, and you know, the bankers that have bankrolled this whole mission. I mean, they want to be paid back. They said that they want their money back within 10 years. So this is putting, you know, Dakota Access Pipeline, this is really putting Dakota Access right on the fire now, because if they don't complete this, they're still held liable for all this money. And I just look at it like, you know what, it's just money. It's digits on a computer, you know, versus humanity, versus life. I mean, what is this? Somebody has got to wake these people up. And I don't know who it's going to be. I wish I could do it. If I could, I would. But, you know, it's going to take all of us. I know I have so many friends back home that have just gotten so involved in this. And, you know, they keep writing to me saying that they contacted every news agency. They've contacted all of their representatives. I actually put something on my Facebook page today that is a way, all you do is put in your zip code and your state, and it gives you the entire list of all the representatives from your state. So you could go down there and just contact every one of them so easily, and either send a letter or make a phone call, but do something.
We'll put that link up, Mary Beth.
Okay, great. That would be a big help. I know people, you know, my daughter went to work, and she's a teacher, and she was telling some of the teachers about it, and most of them were unaware. But the ones who were aware, you said that they wish they knew what they could do, but, you know, they felt helpless. So she was the one who actually suggested that we get some kind of a form letter together where it would be easy. If people don't know all the details behind an issue, they may not want to make the call because they don't feel educated enough. But if we had a form letter, you know, that people could just read, you know, I am against this because of this, this, and this, and I'm insisting that you go onto the floor of Congress and bring this issue up. And, you know, you are voted in by us, and you need to do the work of the people. And whatever this form letter could say, they could dial the representative, say it, and know that they have done something in this effort. So I know Linda and Catherine, I think you were working on something like that. And I think that would be a huge help to people out there.
We've basically got a letter. It may be more than somebody would like to say over the phone, but as a letter, it's probably fine. And anybody can customize that and make it more personal to them and keep the points they want to stress, or you know, amend it
Right.
to their own taste.
Yeah, we haven't had really any internet access, very, very little. So anything that you've been working on, we haven't been able to see.
You haven't seen it yet. Okay.
No, we haven't seen anything.
It's not terrifically direct. Catherine wrote it. And I did an edit on it to change it from we to I, because when you write to your congressperson, it's my view, not our view. They're interested in their own constituents. So what we'll do is we'll put the link up for the senators and the link up for the Congress people. And maybe we can also write a more simplified letter.
Yeah.
It says bang, 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 and we could put that up as well. We could work on that tomorrow, Catherine.
Yeah, and even if there was a phone script that, like a 30-second, 45-second phone script.
Yeah, we could do a phone script too.
I think that would be really, really helpful. People could just pick up their cell phone, make the call, and know that they've done something to help with this. And I think it'll help people to feel better.
See, what I like to do is I like to call their office, because you're not going to get the congressperson, you're not going to get the senator, but you will if you ask to speak to the staff person in charge of this area. There's a pretty darn good chance that you'll get to that staff person. And that's your opportunity to introduce yourself and say, look, I want you to know my opinion and why I feel like this, and I'd like to know your thinking, because I use that as an opportunity to teach them my viewpoint. They work for us. We elect them. That's what they're supposed to do. And I feel it's my duty to share my knowledge with them so they can represent me the way I want to be represented.
Well, I also want to call Dakota Access and some of these other people that are involved in this, these corporations, and I want to state to them that, I am totally against what they're doing, and that I'm doing everything I can to make more and more people aware of it. And the more people that are aware of it, they're not going to be able to get away with this. And I'm going to I want them to know.
Well, I found
doing what I can.
There's a guy who's a New York University law professor, and his name is Richard Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
And he advises Energy Transfer's partners. And he said that the Standing Rock Sioux tribe had plenty of time to consult with the Army Corps of Engineers, but they refused. And he said they boycotted the entire consulting process. So maybe we should also contact him, because he's a legal advisor of theirs, and just say, buddy, you're on the wrong track here.
Well, I think what I'd like to do as a follow-up to this program is to get the lawyer who spoke yesterday to come on and do a show with us, because
that'd be fabulous.
He has all of the facts, and that they started digging with no permit, with none of the surveys done. And then when they were confronted, then they went and had to get the permit, and that was being fought. And, just the whole issue of the land. I mean, where they want to dig is Indian land that was, given to them in a treaty in the 1880s. And the Army Corps of Engineers said that they reclaimed that land, but they had no right to reclaim it. And it's nowhere that it's written in a treaty that it was reclaimed. So the original treaty stands. So there was a man who owned many, many acres there. And when the digging got to his land, he protested. And what he did is he told them to get off the land, and he confiscated all of their equipment. Well, then they came back to him and basically threatened him. And they threatened him with eminent domain, or they would pay him $20 million. But they told him one way or the other that the land was going to be theirs. So he just gave up and took the money. So it's really sad that he did that, because he had a lot of footing to stand on. But what the lawyer is saying is it doesn't even matter, because it was really nobody's land to sell anyway. It was all, the Indian land that was given in the treaty. It's still part of the treaty.
Right. And
so even though people said that they owned it.
Yeah, they can't do anything about that. Not the Army Corps of Engineers. They have no ability to nullify a treaty.
Exactly.
That's nuts.
Exactly. So, and this is what's happening. They can trample on the Native Americans because they just do it constantly. And that's why we have to come together as the human race and stop letting these people fight these battles for us. I mean, they are here as the protectors of the land, protectors of the water. It's time that we take some of that burden on ourselves.
So do you think people should come up there?
I think as many people as can possibly get up here. I say if you're retired, you should be up here, even though it's going to be cold. If you stay for a week or two.
Well, everybody could bring their RVs. All these guys that have RVs could.
Oh, there's RVs everywhere up here. Everywhere.
How many people are up there, you guys?
It is so hard for us to tell, and we never get an exact number. We hear thousands, and it is thousands, but it's very hard to tell. There's Sacred Stone Camp, which is pretty large, but the way that it's set out, it's actually hard to even see how many people are there. And then there's the large Standing Rock Camp, which we thought we saw it all, but as you travel up the road, you realize that the camp, it just keeps going on and on. So that is really huge. Mm-hmm. And then there's our camp. So, we've heard estimates from, 2,000 to 7,000. So I don't actually know the number, to tell you the truth. But that's something that we could maybe ask when we do our next show. And it changes. I think, when we first got there were so many people arriving. It was just filling up. And then over the past few days, it seems to be dwindling a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which camp is it where the road has all the flags standing? Is that Standing Rock?
That's Standing Rock, yeah. And then as you travel up a little bit right beyond Standing Rock, there's another, and I didn't even realize it till today, but you travel up right past the end of Standing Rock Camp, and then there's another whole line of flags that are lower to the ground, and the digging actually comes out to the road right there. You can see the whole it's right there. I was shocked. I had no idea, but I think that part is stopped now. They're not allowed to work there. They're coming down from the other direction. Mm-hmm. But they work at night. They just keep doing a little bit at a time. And they were supposed to, with the injunction that was out there, they were not supposed to come closer than 20 miles in either direction. And the last we heard is they're 13 miles away. So they're really encroaching onto the Cannonball River now.
So is there a person at these camps that coordinates with their congressman? Where's the liaison between the representatives to the U.S. Congress and their U.S. senators in this?
I believe that that's all done in the legal tent.
That'd be interesting to find out about.
Yeah. I know that they talk about the representatives in many of the meetings, and I think my brother just said tonight that there's a Native American man who's running for, was it Congress? He's up for election, and they were telling people that the way the laws are in North Dakota, that if you come to Standing Rock, you can be here for 1 week and stay at the encampment, and that can be your permanent address, and you can vote in North Dakota. So they're telling people to go ahead and do that and get the thousands of votes for this man, because Standing Rock is kind of its own sovereign area, and you can be a resident of that. So, that's something else that I want to talk to this lawyer about. But, I don't like to do anything underhanded, but at some point, we are fighting this machine. And it's huge, and it's so embedded, and it's almost like a big monster. And I don't know how we just, stay on this nice, neat and narrow little path and do everything so by the book when you're trying to fight this huge amount of corruption.
Right.
At some point, you just have to say enough is enough. And I think I'm at that point, actually.
What press is up there?
As of when we were there, it was just very, it was alternative media, people that you would not have heard. Now, RT was up here. I don't remember his name, Alexi, whatever, I can't think of his name. He was up here and he did a report. And actually, I put it on my Facebook page today, and it was very comprehensive. And he was stating that, there's very little coverage, that ABC and NBC have washed their hands of it. They won't touch it. But CBS has done a few small stories on it, and we did see one on CBS News Online. They did cover it, but not enough. I mean, just to a couple of little snippets, people forget about that in no time. If it's about something about going to war, or, something that they want to put us in fear about, a natural disaster or something, that is run over and over and over. Every 3 minutes, you're hearing the same story until, you're just about can't stand it anymore. But here's a story that's in our own backyard that's affecting, all of really Canada, the US, down into Mexico even. This is going to go down into the Gulf of Mexico. So, we're looking at something right here that is the biggest story that we're going to deal with for a long, long time. And there's no coverage on it. That makes no sense to anybody.
No, it doesn't. And it's billions and billions of dollars. I mean, when you start talking about 466,000, no, 470,000 barrels of Bakken crude oil per day. That's a lot of money.
And you know who's invested? There's a nice little list here on the Democracy Now! Website.
Oh, what's it say, Catherine?
Well, it's Bank of America, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley. So there's all the Wall Street boys that are in it.
God.
But, they do have that tribal chairman, David Archambault. I mean, he went to the UN. He's sort of the representative in the bigger world, I think, for the tribe. And apparently there was already an indigenous, some sort of indigenous event going on at the UN. And of course they all, stood with him, as of course they should, and so should we.
And one of the things that they said is they did say that President Obama has been the best president so far as helping the indigenous people. But with this issue, he says that he stands with the people, but he's not doing anything about it. So, talk is cheap. We need to hear from the president. We need to hear him stand up and say that he's here to protect America, to protect the citizens, to protect our land, our homeland.
Well, I thought he did issue an injunction, or what happened there? I thought
it really came from the Army Corps of Engineers or somebody above them, because
Obama. It was the White House that did it.
I'm not sure about that. I think that the Army Corps of Engineers was charged with, they were supposed to do a full evaluation, and they just did this summary survey. They didn't actually do the whole thorough assessment that was legally required, and that's
okay. Let me get in here. Here's what it says: the Obama administration directed the Department of Justice and the Department of the Interior on September 9th to shelve the project until the government can determine the effects it will have on the environment.
And the project is still moving forward. They are still digging. They're still laying pipe. And, as the president, he should step in and just say, absolutely no more work. I mean, it's okay to say it, but they're still doing it. So at some point, it's like, your child, you say don't do something. If they still do it, you pull them back and sit them down and say no. I mean, at some point, we have to stop them. They're still moving, and it's because of the arrogance of the money. They honestly believe, ever since Citizens United, I think we pretty much lost a huge battle for the people. And until we get that overturned, and until these corporations realize that they're not people, they're a business, and the people are the ones whose voices matter in this government. And I don't know how we're going to do that, but again, it's just having people step up. I mean, look at Sharon and me. I mean, we're just two normal women from Pennsylvania. We have no, background in anything. We're just concerned. Really, I don't know how to stress this. We're not lawyers. We're nothing. We're not nothing. We're wonderful people. But it's like we don't really have the background, to go out and do this. But it doesn't matter, because you realize when you just keep taking one step forward and then the next and then the next, you're led to all the right people. And we are now with all the right people. And we're learning everything that we need to know, and we know that we're not alone. We're with this group that's just growing exponentially, and more people are getting involved. And this is what the fear is now. This is why they're starting with the roadblocks, and the checkpoints and the arrests, and because they know that so many people are now becoming aware, and they're not going to stand for this.
Well,
They were
and there's
doing it in the
another
shadows
thing that's
before.
going on too that I want to mention. One of the things that I listened to today was a conversation about whether or not certain bank money would be renewed to the oil companies. So there's some sort of process that all the banks are going through next week to redetermine what money will actually be going to the oil companies to extend their credit. Keep on doing this. And of course that's against, like, if we don't give the money to them. One of the guys was saying, we think most of the bankruptcies in oil are over, but there may be a few more to come. But most of the banks are also unwilling to extend a lot of money for risk capital right now because the price is not expected to come back up. So the one good thing that could be happening potentially is these guys don't get so much money to go about their dirty deeds, right?
Yeah, it's all about the money.
So if they don't get the loans,
right,
and that there's a very good chance that as we go forward into next week, as they begin to announce where these oil deals are going, that maybe it won't look so good for these people.
Well, then we're going to pray for that. That's what we'll pray for.
Yeah, and that's a very real possibility that their loans don't get extended. And they have to go into a cash crunch. And that was the topic of one of these discussions today, was that the bankruptcies are not over in that industry.
Good.
That's
So,
what I said.
Did you guys know, I mean, this was something I saw today that it's from September 7th. There was already a pipeline spill in North Dakota, spilled 1 million gallons of fracking fluid into a creek that feeds the Missouri River.
Oh, God.
Is the irony of that is amazing.
It is just totally amazing.
You know, and then to get back on the spiritual side of things, you know, when we were heading up there to we don't like to call it the protest, we like to call it the protect, because that's what we feel like we are, protectors, not protesters. And when we were going up, there was 4 golden eagles that were flying with us, and that was such a beautiful sign. And that one of the elder women got on, and she was just saying once they saw that, they knew that we were protected that day. And she said that she knew that they would be there to guide us back. And as we were coming back in the caravan, I mean, that was a frightening day. I mean, in a way, I mean, Sharon and I was so surprised that, you know, the only time that my heart started to race was when they brought in the military vehicle with that sound weaponry on top of it, and they were telling us to hold our ears. I got a little nervous about that because I had seen videos of what that can do, but really I think I was more nervous for the horses and their ears. I just kept thinking, what about those poor animals?
That's
you know? But luckily we had a liaison with us who was wonderful and was able to talk to the police and kept sanity there. And then as we were flying home, we had picked up somebody who needed a ride, and she was in the back seat, and she said, "Oh, look out your window." And here was an eagle doing a circle around the top of our car. And I was like, oh my gosh, I saw it out my window. Then Sharon was looking out her window, and that was like such a wonderful sign. And then yesterday, they left, and we didn't hear a thing about it. The caravan took off, and we didn't go, but we were meant not to go because we went over to the large camp, and we were there for a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden the Havasupai people were arriving from the bottom of the Grand Canyon. They had come in, and oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. And we ended up spending a day with them and getting to know the elders. And last night we put together a women's prayer service so the elders of the Havasupai could call the women together, because she was saying that she's known for a while that this is time for the women. The women are the keepers of the water, and the men are the keepers of the fire. And this is the time for the women to come out. And it's not in any way taking any power away from men. It's just that the balance. Now the women are going to have their power. and the women are the ones that are going to step forward, and they're going to fix these. They're going to, use their own voices, their intuition, their nurturing. Women are of water. When you think of giving birth, we carry that baby in water. We are water. And so it's time for the women to get out in front and do this. And we had our prayer circle last night. There was only, I think, maybe 6 or 7 women that showed up. So it was very intimate and was wonderful, expressing that, now is the time, that she was not going to come. And she knew about it for a month. And the people of her tribe weren't really interested in coming. And all of a sudden she had a dream, and she just knew that she had to be here. And so she told them that she was going, and they said, okay, they wanted to go. And they actually brought the oldest member of their tribe along, and he's in a wheelchair, and he was very old. But when he found out that they were coming, he said he wanted to come. And it was just an absolutely amazing time. And she said, it's time that the grandmothers of the world and the women step up, forge alliances together, use our God-given wisdom and our feminine knowledge that we came here with. And it's time for the men to relax a little bit, let the women get in there, let the women make the rules and go back to set point where we're supposed to be. And the men are there to protect us. The men need to stand with us, protect us, make sure that we're able to do what God put us here on earth to do. So it was a very inspiring day. It was beautiful. So all of you women listening, step up now. Now's your time.
So how long will you two be there?
I think we're planning on staying till October 11th. And that's what the plan is. But we've said to each other that if there is a dire need for us to be here, to remain for some reason, we'll remain.
So what are your living quarters like?
We're in a tent. It's a really good sized tent, actually. It has it's called a 3-room tent. So, you walk in and there's like an area there, and then there's 2 zippered sides where we can go off and have our teeny little 6x6 space. And it's cold. It's not sealed very well. It gets very wet at night. We wake up and it's all frozen. We did splurge and bought a really big tarp that we're going to go back and try to cover up our tent with.
Great idea.
And somebody gave us this little tip. A Native American told us how to warm our tent a little bit. And so today we went to the store and we bought clay pots. And you buy 2 clay pots that are just one size difference, okay? And you put the smaller one on the bottom and you put a tea light in there. And then you flip the other one upside down and put it over. And the terracotta heats up overnight. And you might have to, relight a candle in there. But if you put 1 or 2 of them in your tent, it really helps to warm it.
Well, that's
so we did that today, but there's no heat. It's very drippy. It's got some holes, so we bought some duct tape. It's not in good shape, but you know what? It doesn't matter, right? We have warm sleeping bags.
Our whole motto this whole time has been, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
And this is all we do, So now we know we have to make our tent a little bit more secure just in case there's more wind, because the wind was so strong that the second or third night that we were there. But so we have a tarp to cover up for some warmth, and we've got some extra rope and some extra stakes, and I'm sure if we can't figure it out, someone else, we can just ask and someone can help us out. But so far we've been doing pretty good.
We've been hammering stakes and rigging up lines, and we don't know what we're doing, but everything seems to be holding. So that's the least of our, we don't even really think about that. That's just sort of okay, we have to go to sleep now because it's late. But the rest of the day, it's sort of, you're either just really in a prayerful state, or you're working with the women, which is phenomenal, or, we're trying to gather information and talk to people. And there's such a diverse group of people. There's a man named Brian with us, and he's a lobbyist for the state of Kansas for the schools there, because the schools are just terrible. You know, they're not getting the funding. They're trying to do what the state of Pennsylvania did that we're living in. They're trying to privatize everything. And he's just sick about it. So he became a lobbyist. And, you know, in Pennsylvania where we are, we have these charter schools that, they came in saying how they're going to offer everything and be so great and all. Well, last year or the year before, I can't remember now, all of a sudden it was all over the news that the kids went to school and the doors were all chained shut and the company had gone bankrupt. So there were all these kids with no schools. And, you know, this is what happens when you get big business involved in education. It's not the way it's meant to be. So he's working on that. And we have, there's just so many unbelievably different people. We had a lot of journalists. We had a world-renowned photographer. That was an interesting thing yesterday. We had this photographer, and with flour, she wrote on the side of a hill, really large, water is life, #no dapple. And she got all the people to lie down and, you know, spell this out. And then she had a drone go over and take aerial photos of this with the Havasupai people sitting in front of us on chairs. So that, I cannot wait to get that photo, and we'll post it as soon as we get it. But that was beautiful. So there's a lot happening there. And people that are, you know, saying, I don't know if I should go there, I would say, come. It is very, very safe. The security is unbelievable. You will feel so loved and accepted and welcomed, and you will get such education on, you know, a different way of life. The Native Americans want to share everything with you. They want to tell you everything. I think they feel like it's the time to let everybody come in and learn the spiritual ways and to, you know, get back to the roots. And they just have so much to offer. I would say it would just be an amazing trip, even if it wasn't for this incredibly important reason that you should be here. It would be an adventure just to come anyway. So anybody with a child, a grandchild, anybody who just has an interest in the planet, come to North Dakota and be part of this. I think you'll be making history. I think this is the beginning of the end of all of this destruction that's been going on with this planet, because once the people come together, there will be no stopping this.
You know, Mary Beth, I think everybody in Global Mission of Peace, or, you know, 90% of us, I think all of us probably are just so grateful and so thrilled that you are there representing for us. And when I saw that picture of you standing in front of the cop in his riot gear, you know, it's like, who can resist Mary Beth? I don't need to know who, you know. I thought, well, did she stick a daisy in his gun? You know, I thought of the 60s. And what was that like?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they were trying to get us all to leave, and there was this long line. I don't know how many of those police in riot gear, but it was a long line, and they were just standing there, you know, kind of in their attention, you know, pose. And I just thought, I can't leave with this sternness, that rigidity, that, I don't know, that control. It felt so horrible to me. So I just went up to them, and I just started with the first one, and I put out my hand, and he actually shook my hand, and I just said, look, I'm just a grandmother here from Pennsylvania who has 5 little granddaughters, and I need this earth to be here for them. I need this water for them. Do you have children? And he just nodded. And I said, please don't let this happen. Support these people. And then I went to the next one, and I said the same thing, and he was accepting. And then, you know, finally I got to a younger guy, and he was built huge, and he was standing there. And when I went to touch his hand, he kind of like pulled back, and he stared at me so cold-heartedly. And I just looked at him, and I just said, I hope God will bless you. And I just kept going down the line. I mean, I was crying. By the time I got to the end, I couldn't even speak to them. I was crying, and just my heart was breaking, because I was thinking what these people are trying to do. And that these men, I know a lot of them didn't want to be in the position that they were in, but that was their job too, you know? So it was hard for me, because I know it was hard for them. So, but I have to believe that somewhere somebody was touched, and somehow it left, things be a little more peaceful, and everybody was able to leave, and the day ended okay. The digging all stopped at all sites, and unfortunately yesterday wasn't as good. We had heard 8 arrests, but when my brother called tonight, he said he read somewhere that there was 21 arrests. We weren't at the camp today. They weren't released as of last night. And so we weren't at the camp today to find out how those people are making out. We know one of the women, she's very involved at the Sacred Stone Camp, and she's a lovely, lovely, lovely woman. And her son, Eddie, is at our camp, and he was the nicest young man. When we first got there, he was the first one when he saw us unload and came over and said, "Can I help you with your tent?" Well, by the time we fooled around with trying to get it out and all, he left.
But he was the first one to offer.
He was the first one. He has just been so wonderful to us every time we see him. And it was his mom who was arrested, so he was real concerned about her. So we're just, say a prayer that Leona will be fine and she'll be there. So yeah, I don't know. All I can say is that we have to stand in peace, and there's no other way to do this. We can't. The young warriors, they want to go there. They want to fight. They want to take the fight to them. These elders and even some of the younger men are saying, warriors need to have self-discipline. You have to understand that, this is what they want. They want for you to come to them so they have a reason to arrest you. If you can stay calm and use self-discipline, then if they do it, it's on them, not on you.
Well,
so
we just got a note that there was an article in RT that 95 arrests were made on Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe that seems.
I don't know the source of that we just got a text.
But yeah,
I'm not sure about that.
It can't be won by fighting. It just can't.
No, and there's, when we were up at the front line, and before we went, there was a leader of an elder that was on mic telling everybody what to do, and to that the warriors were there to protect everyone, and they wanted the women and children that were there to be in the middle so they would protect. So it's just everybody just takes care of everyone else, and stressing the whole time, we are here in peace, we are unarmed. We in fact, as we were leaving, they were saying, we pray for you, the police officers, we know you're just doing your job. And it's like there's nothing that's provoked that the natives do to provoke anything. It's just all in peace. And it's
and that's the hardest thing when you read these stories that make it seem like these, the Native Americans are out there causing trouble and trying to, start, a fight with these companies. It just couldn't be further from the truth. It is the most peaceful thing. I mean, the most radical thing is people climbing a hill and holding a flag. I mean, that's about the most radical thing that we saw the whole time we were there. I mean, it's just so peaceful. And they ride on horseback and they keep telling people, like either be right here on the street or step off the street and stand in. But it's so orderly, and there's a lot of the ex-military there from the tribes, and they're there in their combat gear, and they're telling you, there's ex-military here, they're going to protect you, women and children and elders, don't worry, you'll be protected, we won't let anything happen. But then, when they bring in these large groups of military and police and start these arrests, there's really nothing that they can do. You're just vulnerable. Some of the people tried to run through the fields and they got caught, and some of them did get away running through cornfields. But it's just the most bizarre scene to see unarmed people peacefully standing there, and then these, military vehicles and so many police cars like surrounding. They make circles around them. And I'm thinking, for what? These are just unarmed people standing here trying to protect Mother Earth. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with.
One thing that people could do is call the White House, and the White House phone number is 456-1111.
Yeah,
And
Linda,
always
let's
leave a
post
message
that.
with the White House operator.
Yeah, let's get that posted on all of our Facebook pages too.
Okay.
And we don't really use that Twitter or Instagram, but apparently the media women yesterday were saying that that is so powerful. They're saying that Twitter and Instagram are actually more powerful than Facebook, but I don't know why. I don't really use them. But anybody who has those accounts and can use them, use it. They said it's making a really huge impact.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
I
I'm sure
know.
there are a lot of young people up there that know how to do that.
Yeah, probably, huh?
You know, one other thing that we should tell you that happened that was strange was when we were out at the front line, you know, there's this yellow helicopter and it starts early in the morning. It's so eerie. Every time you hear it coming, it's like, oh God, here it comes. And that's the DAPL helicopter. And they, you know, keep flying overhead, seeing what the Indians are doing. Are they going to, you know, get a caravan together, whatever. But when we were standing out there that first day, right after the military trucks and all, no, it was at the second site. So we're at the second site, and this lady next to me says, oh, look at this long spider web on me. And I'm like, well, how did you get that? We're not in any bushes or anything. And then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, block out the sun and look up there. So we did, and coming out of the sky were all like these spider webs, thin spider webs just floating out. So they were dropping it on us. There was a crop plane that was flying around up there, and there was the yellow helicopter. So they were, whatever that was, they were dropping on us, could not have been good. And so, you know, people were saying, oh, don't let it get on you. Well, by that point, it was all, we were like,
Because at that point, I had remembered that for the past 2 days, I kept, because I have long hair, I kept feeling like there was a piece of hair like in my mouth, and I kept trying to rub my, and it sounds rub my tongue to get the hair out, and it just wouldn't come out, but it felt like there's some kind of string in there. It's like, oh my goodness. This has been happening for the past 2 days at least.
Yeah, so we were there, you know, pulling it off of us, and we're like, oh, this can't be good. And then yesterday at the protest, people said that they were dropping yellow, like powder on them. So we don't know what that was either. So, you know, a lot of unkind things happening.
Well, I found this interesting article, and it says, there is no need to prolong the misinformation and outright lies perpetuated by the North Dakota Forum News Service. A governor steeped in the sticky flow of oil and money that has all but ruined portions of the North Dakota landscape feeds the news cycle with threats and lies about behavior at the encampments and issues emergency orders.
There is nothing. I mean, it is peaceful there. It's calm. People are gathered out at the main camp till, gosh, we go to sleep every night to drumming and singing, and there's nothing. We walk around. We have absolutely no fear. We walk all over the main camp. We walk all over our camp. You know, we're two women sleeping alone out there in the tent. I mean, there's nothing going on. So, you know, again, misinformation. Now, you know, we did hear that somebody had a drum stolen at the main camp, but that was probably, you know, there's teenagers, there's kids, whatever. But, you know, that's not anything to be in the press. I mean.
Well, here's another thing. It says, truth about what fuels the reactions of authorities can be found in the discarded debris of the failed oil boom. Abandoned RVs form small mountains in salvage yards. Wells are shut down. Man camps are ghost towns. And the promises of great wealth are only memory. The loss of oil revenue dollars provokes great fear in the offices of politicians. The Dakota Access Pipeline is really another name for the abandoned Keystone XL pipeline, and the goal is to wring every last drop of Bakken crude from North Dakota.
Right.
Authorities are reacting with anxiety that the pipeline will be compromised and believe that concrete barricades along the main road to Standing Rock will stop the people from coming to protect their life source, water flowing from the mighty Missouri. But people continue to come, taking the long detour meant to complicate their journey to the Spirit Camp and reduce business at the Prairie Knights Casino and Hotel. But the authorities, despite the show of force at a safety checkpoint and rerouting of traffic on 1806 from Bismarck to Standing Rock, have failed.
Good. That's where we were.
That's
1806. That's where we were today.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. It says the hotel is almost full, and the diversion along Highway 6 is spectacularly beautiful. Those who have purpose and appreciate the land and all it has to offer do not mind this detour that they're forced to take to get there, is what it says. And it says descendants of the massacre at Wounded Knee by the 7th Cavalry come. Young riders, many teenagers, come on their horses. They are some of the Bigfoot riders who travel 300 miles every year to Wounded Knee to pay respect to the ancestors who were massacred by the U.S. 7th Cavalry Regiment. They, along with tribes from across the continent, do not want this pipeline that would involve 200 water crossings and pass through 300 sacred sites. They come by car, they come by horse, they come on foot, and they are still coming.
And those Bigfoot riders, guess when they make that journey?
When?
In December.
Oh, my Lord.
They ride their horses all the way to Wounded Knee in December.
Wow. Well, I can tell people that we came Route 6 because we didn't know where we were going. So when we arrived from Fargo, that's what we did. We did Route 6, and it is amazingly beautiful, isn't it? It is some of the most beautiful country I've ever seen. It's just spectacular. So believe me, it's not a hardship if you have to be diverted and go Route 6. You'll love it.
We had been traveling from Fargo, and it was just flat. As soon as we got on the reservation, it was beautiful hills and
beautiful mountains.
Yes, it was just totally different.
Sunflower fields as far as you can see. It's just gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, don't be afraid of Route 6.
Yeah.
But I actually want to go back 1806 because I want to check out the checkpoint.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
of course you do.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I won't be doing anything wrong. I just want to go and see what the procedure is that they've put in place. And then turn around and go up 6, I guess. But it'll be okay.
Yeah,
we'll just fill up the gas tank and be prepared.
Well, so I think we can check back in and get an update from you guys.
Gosh, it's so hard. I want to go and buy a Wi-Fi booster because where we're staying, there's this one little teeny tiny area in this field that if we walk into the middle of this one spot, we seem to be able to get Wi-Fi for a little bit, but it's very sporadic. So I'm thinking one of the journalists who was staying there told us that he had a booster and he was able to get online for pretty long. So we know it would be fun maybe tomorrow when we get back there with Jackie, maybe in the evening to get her first impressions of the camp.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
that
great.
might be you'll see it through fresh eyes. That might be kind of fun. And Jackie is going to do something wonderful for the people when she gets there. This is how funny things are. We were in the kitchen and we were saying to the women, you really should have an oven. Everything they do, they have to do on top of a little camp stove. And I said, an oven would be great because they make unbelievable bread and all of these things, but they have to fry everything, So doesn't Jackie call? We go out, we get reception and we call Jackie, and it wasn't 5 minutes later. And Jackie says, I have an idea when I get there. And I said, what's that? She said, I want to build a stone stove. She said, an oven. She says she'd been working in Guatemala and had built those stone ovens for the people. And I said, Jackie, that is amazing. We were just saying how much they needed one. So that's going to be a project that the three of us are going to build a nice big oven with wooden doors. So they'll have that for the winter, and that'll be from Global Mission of Peace. So I think it'll be wonderful.
That is just awesome.
Yeah. And, when I tell you they need everything, they truly need everything. They're feeding so many people, and they don't say no to anybody. I mean, they just open up the tents and everybody comes in and eats, and it's unbelievable. And they're just the most giving people. I know I said that, but it's
true.
It's just, I've never seen anything like it. So anybody who's even thinking about coming to North Dakota, come before the 11th so you can spend time with us. We'll show you around, get you acclimated.
So do you want to check in with us and let us know if we can get together again tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we should be back to camp. I'm thinking early afternoon tomorrow.
Okay.
So we could give you a call and see if our booster works and if we can get a good Wi-Fi signal. I think it would be a fun show to do.
I do too.
And maybe we could have Grandmother Teresa or Dawn or somebody come on that I think you would love to meet them.
Okay, yeah, we would.
That would be great.
Yeah, or even Brian, he wanted to do a show. He's the lobbyist from Kansas, and he came here for special reasons, so he might be interesting too. So,
okay. Well,
yeah.
I think we should probably stop. We've gone a little bit over an hour probably.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get this too long, but thank you so much for what you're doing on behalf of me, particularly. And everyone. And I think Catherine feels the same. Do you want to say something, Catherine?
I'm just ecstatic that it's one of us that's there, and that the one of us that is there is you, with your faithful sidekick.
Yeah.
Because that's really important to have companionship on a pilgrimage like this. It's a pilgrimage.
Yeah, it is.
But you know, I
Coming
I
up.
can't help thinking if it was all the women of GMOP here, oh my gosh, this would be shut down.
In about 2
In a
seconds.
minute, it would be the end of it, you know, because we're a force to be reckoned with. And when we all get out there into the world, it's going to be amazing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good night, you guys. We love you.
Good night. Love you.
We'll speak
Good
with
night.
you again tomorrow, hopefully.
I salute you, and I love you with all my
I
heart.
love you. Mwah.
Take care.